Hello, everyone. Howdy, howdy, how are y'all doing? Welcome to The End with me, Duhad, and him, Pad Save.
Hello.
And eventually Non-Avil is probably, she'll probably be here in like 5-10 minutes, and like hop in without anyone having realized it and surprise us all with a comment. As happens, apparently, with some degree of frequency. But Pat Save, you're out this week, technically.
I am.
Where are?
No.
You're out in terms of being out of your house and all that. But I mean, you're obviously here in the call, so it's sort of here and not here. But the point is, you're not at home this week. Where are you?
I am not at home. No, I'm in Trenton, Ontario.
Really? And what are you doing in Trenton?
I was on a Motorola radio course all week.
Really?
Yes.
And what did that entail exactly?
Death by PowerPoint for 4.5 days.
Yikes. That's fun sounding.
Oh, very. But it's just going through the various Motorola radio platforms and just kind of learning how to program them.
Huh.
And make them work the way you need them to work when you have them in your hand.
Well, that sounds like a useful skill to have. I generally prefer to have things do what they're supposed to do as opposed to nothing.
Yeah.
Quite fond of that. So that's good. Was this for your job or for the army or?
Kind of both, because they're kind of hand in hand. But yeah, no, it was for work because I do this daily with these radios, and it's just kind of like the formal training is always good to have to make it work, the way they want it to work instead of just kind of what you kind of found works.
No, fair enough.
It's kind of like, hey, putting duct tape here makes it work, but the real, proper way to fix it is actually, duct tape going this way.
Right, so that you don't end up with people, trying crazy, half-concocted solutions that kind of work sometimes, but then sometimes just don't catastrophically.
Exactly.
That's a good thing to learn. Well,
Yes.
Hey, that's, and you got free PowerPoints out of it. Yay!
Yay! Oh man, but they gave me like so many things.
Oh.
I think I got like 4 CDs and I want to think almost like 3 gigs of like PowerPoints.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow.
Between that and software and stuff, yeah, there's like almost 3 gigs of things.
Lordy. That is kind of ridiculous, but...
Plus books.
Nice. Oh, nice. Books in PowerPoint form.
I will be book horse.
Oh, goodness. So many books. So many. Oh, God. Speaking of horses, sort of. Actually, no, wait. Before we get on the subject of horses, have you seen the new hit film by director Christopher Nolan, Interstellar?
No, I have not. I believe this was asked last week, and I
Yeah,
kind of got on a plane the next day and came here.
Ah, fair enough. Yeah, I have not either. I have heard silly things about it, but I might be watching it tonight, but haven't seen it yet. So, update on the Interstellar front, no one has seen it.
Absolutely.
Oh, hey, it's the Lightning Rabbit. How are you doing, the Lightning Rabbit?
Good evening. I'm fine.
I also have the wrong picture up again. Or do I? No, wait. Yes, I do. Anyway, so the Lightning Rabbit, how have you been? We haven't seen you in a while.
He's just randomly joined out of nowhere. I'm fine,
That's
I
right.
guess. I've been busy.
Busy with school work?
University, yeah. I've been
Right.
editing solidly for a good month now.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, no, I haven't seen, hide or hair of you. Ha, hair. Rabbits. Anyway, since, oh god, was it, last stream you were on? The last, Let's Read you were on? I don't know. It's been a while. We all thought you had died. We had a nice funeral for you, but it's good to see you're still mostly breathing.
Yeah, mostly.
We can't really confirm if there's not. He could be in a cryogenic tank, kind of just doing this. We don't know.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
The university keeps me in suspended animation until they need me to edit stuff, and then they pull me out and make me edit stuff, and then I have to go back in again.
You joke, but that is basically what they do with editors in in actual film companies.
I know. That's why they do it to us here.
Get used to it.
The industry.
Yeah. Hardly even joking. It's, the life of an editor is a fun life.
They started us off on ridiculously difficult things to edit, obviously, because they didn't want to,
Yeah, they want to basically,
thinking it was easy.
Yeah, they want you to essentially go, this is what is going to be in this industry.
This is the worst case scenario, and if you can do that, you can do everything easier than it.
Yeah. But, so have you been working on student films, or are these, canned, films that are, standardized, and it's okay, now you have to work with this jumble of footage?
All sorts of things, really. Like the other week, the University of Bournemouth, ages ago, used some tape-fed cameras to record a really terrible piece of footage, deliberately terrible piece of footage.
Oh, man.
With actors not saying their lines properly and crossing the 180-degree rule and all sorts of really terrible things, the microphone's in shot about 20% of the time, and you're supposed to kind of make that into a relatively passable piece of footage, final product.
Oh.
But see, in today's society, that's a lot easier than you think. All you have to do is upload it to YouTube, and it's passable.
It's true. There you go. It is now officially, on average, better than everything else around here.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I edited that, and that was surprisingly. I think most people who don't like editing would have found it insanely boring and tedious, but despite all that, I liked it. And normally people would say, oh my god, I don't want to go back into that room and start editing for another 4 hours, because I have 4-hour chunk lessons of editing. But I couldn't wait to go in the next week and do it again.
That's a really good sign.
I'm hoping that's a good sign, yeah. I
I
like being sat in a room with no friends, editing something which is horrible.
Congratulations, welcome to my life.
Welcome, you've become an editor.
Yeah. We're working in different mediums, but it's all towards the exact same goal of endless hours in a tiny room, painstakingly going over things. Yeah.
Ridiculously complex thing of frame rates and resolutions for the different continents. Because obviously we use PAL and you use NTSC.
It gets complicated fast, especially when you start getting to Japan and stuff. It's oh god, what is wrong with everyone? Why can't we all just get along and use one format?
Because that would be too easy.
Yeah. There was some weird thing recently where I think it was Nintendo was actually talking about trying to end the game equivalent of the region locking. Yeah, and the thing is apparently there's this weird thing where it's real region locking is terrible for the consumer, for the end consumer. Obviously, because it means you can't play a lot of games. If a game does not get localized, it's just completely unplayable.
Yeah.
And apparently it's actually not even really that good for Nintendo, for the actual company publishing, because there's not a huge penalty for them for kind of getting the games out and around. The only people it really negatively affects are the actual developers. But the thing is, it's straight on the developers because it means that they pretty much essentially have to make some token form of translation stuff, since the products are at that point designed to be sold to a global market. So it's weird, but basically, there's a whole movement to try and end this sort of crap, because it is actually really, 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 as much as it kind of sucks for some people, it is just terrible for so many more people. It's just, bleh. Everyone hates it, no one likes it.
I don't actually know what the other ones. I only really know NTSC and PAL. I think there's like one called CCOM or something, isn't there?
Yeah,
That's like
there's
China and stuff.
Yeah, there's like I think 3 or 4 in total. Like there
I
might
know
be
France and a few other ones in Europe use a different one. Like
Yeah.
Eastern Europe uses different ones.
Yeah, again, there's I think like there's basically one for there's like 4, maybe 5. I don't know. Point is, there are a number, and it's not a huge number, but it's kind of enough that it's really a pain in the butt. And some things you're just not going to be able. Well, you have to basically right now, if you want to watch and play games from like every region, you have to buy about it like a half dozen DVD players just so you can get around all that. Blah.
Yeah. What does NTSC actually? Oh, it's CCAM. What is NTSC short for?
I don't remember. Probably
National Telecommunication Standard.
Honestly, maybe. Hold on, let me.
Could be,
I'll look it up and see.
Because I know PAL, but I don't know
Wait, what was it again?
NTSC.
NCISC?
NTSC.
TSC. Okay. Okay. The NTSC is the National Television Systems Committee. Sorry, not community. Committee. Yes. Okay. So yeah, and it's most of the Americas except Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay, and French Guinea.
Yeah. I know that PAL is phase alternating line, which is the way it's broadcast. I don't know what CCAM means.
Was it CCAN?
CCAM, yeah.
CCAM.
SECAM.
Again, it's probably something similar to that. There's probably a few that are like, don't translate exactly correctly because of like.
It's French. It says sequential color with memory. That's what it.
God damn it, France! Why do you have to be so complicated and weird?
Yeah, and Russia uses that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's again. It's like they came up with these systems at some point. It probably made sense at the time to essentially just have like, a system for developing the DVDs that they didn't need to, like import from somewhere else. They could just use a national thing. But now it's just in this gigantic clustery mess where it makes international exports so much harder than they need to be.
Yeah, I think the problem is that it was developed back when TVs were new.
Yeah.
And so everyone was developing it in their own countries, not realizing that one day this would be a massive thing that spread the whole world.
Well, it's like language. Yeah, it's like, everyone developed it independently, and it would be significantly easier if everyone was working off the same, basic, language. Except that it's now at a point where everyone has all these unique and individual languages, and no one can ever agree on this is the one language that everyone has to learn because now there's a whole bunch of cultural significance and historical value and blah 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 with all the language. The languages is just like rah.
Yeah, well, I mean, the other problem now is that YouTube, because it's an American company, it uses the American standard frame rate, so 1360p.
Yeah.
But PAL, which is used in England and Japan and loads of other places in Asia and Europe, is 50 and 25p. And if you upload a 50 frames a second progressive video to YouTube, it can't. 50 doesn't go into 60. You can't. That's not divisible, so it can't.
It automatically drops to 30.
Well, it gets this weird thing where you see like a weird kind of blurry image where, like, there was an example, someone throws a ball up in the air and there are like 3 balls behind it as well because it's all out of sync. It just doesn't work.
Oh jeez.
And so our system doesn't work with your system at all, and CCAM doesn't work with either of our systems at all.
Yeah.
So none of it works.
It's a giant mess. It really is just awful.
The trouble is, of course, that to replace the system with a standardized one, you'd have to replace every TV in existence, and also replace all the filming equipment and stuff like that, which would run into a lot of money.
It would be billions of dollars worth of things you need to replace, and that's assuming that you would take the whichever one has the largest consumer base, and then replace it for all the other ones, which honestly would probably be the CCAN one, because like that's what they use in China, and
No, China uses PAL.
Oh, they use PAL?
The majority of the world uses PAL.
Yeah, then it would be PAL. But like, even if you're doing just PAL, like changing everything over to PAL, then that's still that's still millions,
that's
if not
the whole of
billions
America.
of things. Yes, all the Americas. It's
Russia,
a whole bunch of Russia. Like it's Russia. It's a bunch of Europe.
French. Well, it's France in Europe, and then everywhere in Africa that France.
Oh yeah. It's large areas of Africa. Yeah, again, it's a gigantic mess. It would mean having to uproot. Basically, it'd be the equivalent of having a forest, and the forest is a mix of birch and oak trees. And then you decide you want to be an oak forest. You have to go through and uproot every single birch tree, and then import baby oaks to replace every single one of them.
No, it's just not viable.
Yeah.
But you guys are also thinking this on like a more archaic scale. Like, you have to think now we're with smart TVs coming more and more into the system. Like, yeah, we can't do this overnight, but with more of these smart TVs that are can communicate over IP, it's a lot easier now with how updates and all that work to be able to push these frame rates to these new TVs to be compatible.
Okay, to be fair, yes.
That is true. If it's not hardwired in and you can do a firmware update, then it's possible. Then
once we go digital, as soon as we're completely digital,
all that digital yet?
That stuff will all fall away, and it'll be incredibly easy to rework everything into a much simpler system. However, for the time being, you can't update hardware like that, and unfortunately, there's still a lot of hardware, a lot of very expensive hardware that is used in the stuff.
Well, that's the thing, is that where we are currently, the UK quite a while ago now switched over so everything is digital. There's no more analog TV. The problem with that, though, in terms of the frame rate thing, is that people still have old TVs. They didn't all go out and buy new ones when it switched to digital. They just bought digital boxes to go with them. So the TVs themselves have it built into them. They can only decode 50i and 25i and stuff like that. So it would still require everyone to get a new TV. And I'm not sure about cameras. I think you can probably... It would be quite a big one, but you'd probably have to give a firmware update to every camera in the country, and that would be quite a time-consuming thing to do. Still,
the thing is, there's kind of the weird thing with cameras is that even though most people these days, like most filmmakers, will use digital cameras, there's still plenty of people who prefer to film with film.
Well, I mean, TV.
TV. I doubt like anyone is still really filming a lot of television using film, but
Yeah, I mean, generally, film is 24 frames a second anyway, so you'd probably be okay with that. You wouldn't need to update anything for film.
Yeah.
Because people like it in 24.
Yeah, they tried to upgrade that, like with like The Hobbit and stuff, and everyone was just like, it's weird.
I didn't notice too much of a difference, actually. It was like 48 frames a second.
I didn't really either. I don't know what the whole hullabaloo was one way or the other, but like people were kind of like, it's too weird looking with the more frames.
Yeah.
But more frames are better.
More frames are better frames. That's why I have all of my videos uploaded in 720 frames.
20 frames a second.
Yeah. Just like the most ludicrously decadent film.
Yeah. I still maintain that 24 frames a second in cinema, because it's been so widely used for so long, I think it should stay that way. But definitely if you're recording something, I think you should always... That's when I'm getting a camera at some point, and I'm looking for one that will record in 60 frames a second at least at 1080p, because it's better when filming, even if you don't use all of the frames, to have them there, so that, say, if you want to slow down a shot, you've got the extra frames available.
Yeah.
Because if you record it in 24 frames a second and then want to do a slow motion shot, It's not going to happen.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like the way slow motion shots work is like, you know, and the better you can make a slow motion shot is literally just down to how many frames a second you're filming at, because what you're doing is just extending each individual frame. And if you're filming at too low frame rate, then it's just like, well, okay, congratulations, you can make really jerky images as you jump between one frame to the other, but slowed down, you can see those gaps. So it's like, you know, like slow-mo, it's like, you know, puppets, like claymate puppets.
It'll jump, basically.
Yeah. Exactly.
It'll be like the PowerPoints that,
Yeah, and that was like the thing with like when the Matrix was first filmed, and they had like the super slow-mo shots and stuff, like they, you know, a big part of that was like they had these super cameras that could record, I forget how many it was like some crazy number of frames per second, like 50 or some crap like that. It was like, it was really dumb. It wasn't like by today's standards, it was, you know, pretty reasonable. But like at the time, they essentially like just created these super cameras for the express purpose of filming ultra slow-mo shots.
Yeah.
And now they have like super ultra slow-mo cameras.
Yes.
Yeah. Nowadays, you can get ridiculously slow frame rates.
Oh yeah, no. Well, that's the thing. Like nowadays, you can film. You know, like if you go digital, especially, you can film at such a high frame rate that you can just slow something down to ludicrous levels. Like you can watch, you know, bullets travel, you know, at the speed of a snail and stuff like that's insane. Yeah, you got to think about the fact that like essentially, you know, a thing that, you know, like okay, it's a sort of thing where you don't really consciously think about it ever, but you got to remember. When you're ever watching like those Discovery Channel documentaries or whatever, and you see like a bullet, you know, fly through the air after it's been shot out of a gun, what you are looking at is the film. It is a filming of a bullet speeding past the narrow frame of a camera, and the camera is taking images so quickly that each individual picture of that thing, because all a movie is, all a television show is literally just moving pictures. It is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pictures all going by like a flip book super fast. And so when you're looking at those slow-mo pictures of bullets, you're seeing that because it is taking thousands upon thousands of pictures every second in order to get those tiny individual, like, you know, nanosecond differences between the location and image of the bullet as it travels along. Like, that's nuts. That's nutty.
It's filming at ludicrous speed.
Ludicrous speed. It's gone plaid.
That's something. It's an interesting subject, but it is very confusing because it basically, as an editor for TV, I have to learn all about PAL and the various different, because it's not, whereas on YouTube it's nice and simple, it's 1280 by 720 is HD, anything below that isn't, and then you've got 1080p, which is 1920 by 1080, I think. And but in what's his name? In TV, all of the resolutions are weird. Basically, it's like 720 by, what is it, 576 or something. Yeah. And 768 by 576, and particularly with PAL we have this problem, because the 1280 by 720 thing is an American thing, and it's all nice rounded numbers, but in England we use all random weird numbers that aren't rounded or anything.
You use metric resolution.
It's like, come on, guys, you managed to get the metric system to work significantly less idiotically than, you know, the American imperial system. So why is it that you then have to screw it all up by making the stupid PAL system, you know, ridiculous and weird?
Well,
because it's metric.
Well, PAL is very old. This is like the beginning days of TV, and so I guess they just, because you have to remember that also TVs were all in this weird like 4:3 resolution, like square box thing.
Yeah, no, I'm sure what it was like, you know, at the time it was, you know, based on what could reasonably be expected, and then just formatting everything to work to those reasonable expectations. and then when things got better, just like doubling that. Most of the time, these sort of weird, arbitrary numbers will come about because there's a very practical, if kind of short-term solution, and the people working on it essentially go like, well, here's the deal. If this works, then great, it's a minor inconvenience in the future, and if it doesn't work, why bother trying to, break break the system that, to the point where it doesn't really work for us now, in hopes that maybe it'll stick around long enough to start working later on.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it gets really complicated the more you look into it, because the actual reason for, obviously, the way resolution works is it's the number of, well, particularly with TV anyway, 720 by 576 is the number of scan lines, horizontal and vertical, on the screen. And so it's a little bit confusing because it gets very, very technical at that point. It gets into the number of hertz that a screen can display and all that sort of thing. So at this point I'm not actually sure how it works. I'll do a unit on single camera production where I'll learn all of this, but for the time being I'm still very inexperienced when it comes to knowing what the hell's going on.
Fair enough. Yes, again, hello Crane, welcome to the show.
Can I have a link to this stream chat?
Oh, right, yeah. Let me copy, and I'll paste it to you. Anyway, yeah, no, it's just blah, blah, blah. Now, on the subject of weird and arbitrary rules and stuff, a great example of this was actually something I found when I started working at the studio, and that was that I came in after kind of a weird thing where there had been this guy who was working there as an engineer, and this dude was brilliant, great engineer, absolutely ran the room that I've been working in, amazingly. He'd been working there for I don't know 12 years or something, but long time, great dude. Anyway, point is, because he'd been working there so long, he had systems and solutions and things things would stop working and he'd figure out solutions for them. And what he'd do is something would break down or stop working, and he'd find a workaround. And it's okay, this thing will come up and I can instantly fix that by just plugging this into here, and then I'll reroute some power from there to there. Boom, done. Just kind of keep everything going nice and fast with no problems. Problem was, when he left and the new engineer took over, the guy trained under, the guy's essentially just oh wow, this is insane. The back of every the back of every single computer and all the boards were this jumbled mess of wires. There were wires that had been plugged in, and the ends were just lying on the floor because essentially they were plugged in case he needed to plug them into something else on a moment's notice. But when they weren't plugged in, he just kind of leave it half plugged in and half just laying around. There were these twisted wires all over the place because it was well, I'm gonna have to pull them out at any time, so whatever. They end up in a giant, knotted mess, but it doesn't matter because they're never going anywhere. So it was just the whole thing was just this giant rat's nest, and it was impossible for us to figure it out entirely. We eventually had to just tear out the entire thing and rewire everything. But the thing was, it was a situation where everything worked perfectly for the engineer who had set it all up. And even though it ended up as this completely unworkable mess, it was a completely unworkable mess because it had become that over a decade of quick fixes, simple solutions, and working things in such a way that they worked for the moment, that they would, not interrupt a session in the middle of the session. And that's kind of what happens with a lot of these things and these systems and stuff. People come up with short-term solutions that work for the foreseeable future, or even as long as they need them to work. And then they just sort of go okay, I can try and work this out better, but why bother? It's, basically good. Therefore, I will leave it alone.
Well, I think it reached a point where they were kind of it wasn't necessarily good, but it was just one of those things where they couldn't change it once they set the ball rolling because it would have been too expensive. That's
the other thing. It's once you kind of get something set in a certain way, it becomes extremely difficult to fix it. I mean, we actually had to wait Like before we ended up tearing out the entire back of the thing, the newer engineer spent about 6 months working with these boards and stuff without touching the crazy knotted mess in the back, except when he needed to. Basically because it was like, this is a mess, I can barely work with it, but the cost of fixing it is so much higher than the cost of just trying to figure it out, that until we ended up, with like 3 people in the room and just like okay, we've got a day, let's just spend the entire day fixing this. It wouldn't have been worth it any other time because it was just such a huge time-consuming process.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, it's especially when you're patching something up. That old engineer who'd been there the whole time, he, didn't expect to be leaving, I assume, for the foreseeable future. So the whole time he was working there, it was just like, well, it's basically because he knew the system and other people didn't. Yeah. In fact, you get that a lot with, like we had the media department at my old high school had new people come in, and obviously new people are taught differently. Like every generation is taught differently from the old generation, and so the new people came in and they worked completely differently and were taught completely different things and didn't have as much experience as the old guy who worked there. So he was doing it off experience and they were doing it off what they'd been taught, if that makes sense. Because sometimes you shouldn't always go off what you're taught. You should gain experience and go off of that instead.
The thing is, and this is kind of like the weird thing where there's this kind of whole balance, but not necessarily exactly balance. It basically, the thing you have to keep in mind is this is kind of where the whole industrialization thing kind of kicks in, where it's like, okay, we can end up having these cases where we have these people who have all this on-the-job experience, they do things their own way, and damn it, they get results. They're a loose cannon of whatever profession they're in, but damn it, they're so good that you can't help but respect that. And the problem is, those people do get results. Those people get better results than the, bog standard factory turnout, textbook, followers that, corporate whatever country wants us to do. Meh. But the thing is, while those people do get results, what they also do is set up systems that work for them, or work for them in their very small department. And those situations never work out well after they're gone. They end up, causing horrible problems and are confusing messes for everyone else. Because if you're not working off of a standard system, then you are basically setting up a situation where your experience relies everything working relies 100% on your experience. And for you, that could be way better, way more efficient than working off of the system. And it'll be great for like 5, 10 years, 20, 30, 50 years. And then you leave, and then everything falls apart for like a year or two while everyone else scrambles to figure out just what the hell you'd been doing and, has to step in and replace it. And the thing is, if, you can manage to get things to all work on kind of a system, or at least teach your system to the next generation, then you don't end up with that scramble period. Maybe it's not necessarily as efficient all the way through, but you don't end up with these huge peaks and valleys.
Mm.
But again, that's sort of the thing is no one likes that. No one likes to not have the inspirational all-stars. They want a whole bunch of inspirational all-stars, not good, solid, consistent players. You want the best. Because damn it, the best is great. You love the best. The best is amazing.
Here's a really interesting article I found actually on NTSC. And so it should be pointed out actually that when I say 30 frames a second in the US, it's not actually 30 frames a second. It's actually 29.97.
Ah.
And there's a reason for that as well.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure there's.
Was it? I remember I learned this when I was doing communications and all that in high school. It was, I think it's, once you get to 30, it starts like kind of really messing with screens and your eyes.
Yeah, I think
because it's, yeah, cause it was. I think it's the CRTs can't really do the exact 30. It's something to do with how the pretty much the electron ray worked. And then that would in turn like agitate the eyes really badly.
Oh,
I
jeez,
think it had. It was during the time when they were switching from black and white to color. They had to, so that it would be compatible when they switched over. They had to do what you're saying, because I think this guy will probably explain it if I would just read the article, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Just cite the article and the like the publication and like the author real quick, so that you know.
TheAutomaticFilmmaker.com, Steve Ellington.
All right, go ahead.
An independent filmmaker based in Washington, D.C.
Wonderful.
It's fairly common knowledge that your video on your TV is playing at 30 frames per second, unless you live in Europe where it's 25 frames a second. However, have you ever thought about why these are the frame rates? Why not 50 or 100? You probably haven't, but since I think about moving pictures all day, I actually know the answer to this. The main thing I would like to point out, which some of the geekier of you might already know, is that 30 frames a second is just an approximation of the actual frame rate of video in the US. The real frame rate is 29.97. Why this incredibly strange number, you say? Well, I'll tell you. In order to make video play back at a fixed rate, there needs to be some kind of timing circuit. When television was first beginning, there wasn't any high-tech silicon-based chips that were used for the task today. So the brilliant engineers back then used the oscillation of AC electricity as the basis for their timing circuit. In the US, electricity cycles at 60 times per second, 60 hertz. So using half of that gives you the frame rate of 30 frames a second. In Europe, electricity flows at 50 hertz, hence the 25 frames a second. So the frame rate of television was actually 30 frames a second at one point in time. However, that all changed when color television was introduced. When a signal from color information was added to the television transmission, there was a big problem. The color carrier signal was phasing with the sound carrier signal because they were very close in the spectrum. This made the picture look unwatchable. The quick fix they came up with was to reduce the frame rate by 0.3 FPS, which moved the two signals out of phase. We've been stuck with this frame rate ever since. So basically, the signal that they were sending out to the TVs, the color, the signal that carried all the color information and the signal that carried all the sound information was so close together that they would phase between each other, and it would
create horrible
break
static
everything,
and,
basically. Yeah.
Because it's like,
So I just want to say, I believe that I think in American television, every fourth frame is repeated. I don't know why that is, I can't remember, but you can see it if you watch a long panoramic shot. Yeah, what were you saying, sorry?
No, just pointing out the fact that, if you, what the hell is it? If you, right, as much as, like, it might sound to a layman like, oh my goodness, hey, like, if you mix the color signals and the image signals, wouldn't that just, like, make it so, like, I don't know, like, some sort of weird thing where your television is showing colors and, like, playing the sounds of, like, green or whatever? No, it just makes everything static. They just interfere with each other, they don't work properly, and it just ends up with this giant staticky mess of hissing and, warped things. It's not fun, basically. It's not good. It's not good at all.
Mm.
Oh, CRTVs, you suck. You suck lots.
But CRTVs, you got to use the light gun.
That's true. I will give them that much. Light guns are awesome.
But you can't go and play classic Duck Hunt or Super Scope on an LCD or plasma TV anymore unless unless you play it on the Wii.
Dude, I was so good at Duck Hunt, like, you have no idea. Like, I actually didn't play it when the Nintendo was out, but, like, a while ago, a friend of mine, I have two friends who collect old systems and old games, and one of them, had, me and him, had, like, a Duck Hunt challenge, and just first go, just unbelievably long run before I eventually lost. Like, just insane.
Yeah.
I'm the Duck Hunt king. Duck Hunt.
Woo.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that's what I've been filling my brain with for the past month. Mainly editing on Final Cut Pro, which is a horrible editing system.
Oh god, I hate Final Cut Pro so much.
Are you using X? Final Cut Pro X is the thing I
don't even
like.
remember. Like I haven't used it in a while. I've been using what the hell is it? Not Avid, but
Premiere?
No. I've mostly been working in editing software, which is Pro Tools. Pro Tools is like the
Pro
super
Tools,
yeah, it's the super big audio editing program, which I'll go into that at some point because there's an interesting thing about audio editing versus film editing. But anyway, point is, I do remember using Final Cut Pro in college a lot, and that so powerful, so freaking unwieldy.
I don't think it's very powerful, to be honest.
Well, okay, it's
or at least the current iteration.
Okay, like back in the day, it was like the most powerful. It was pretty powerful, but it was also just stupidly designed.
Well, it's got what they did was in Final Cut Pro X. You know how when you're editing things normally, it's done on layers.
Yeah, as any sane person would do.
Yeah, unless it's a node-based editing system, but that's massively complicated.
This isn't a tech podcast. We're not going to get into that.
Yeah.
We could be a tech podcast.
I guess we actually probably have enough engineers on board that we could do that. I think Nani would be upset when she eventually arrives and just like, what exactly has happened? This isn't the program I joined on.
Yeah, she'll be swamped with random information about stuff.
Acronyms everywhere.
Send the acronyms forward. But yes, so basically Final Cut Pro X, instead of using a layer-based system, it uses this thing which only Apple could have invented, called a central story-based timeline. And it doesn't have layers. It doesn't have like dedicated layers for video tracks and audio tracks. It has one track in the middle where you put all of your primary footage, and then you just kind of bolt stuff on either side of it.
Oh my god, that sounds horrible.
It is extremely horrible because you can't... There has to be something in the central timeline before you can put stuff around it. So you can't put audio underneath first and then put the video in later. You have to put something in the central timeline.
You had to put the video in first and then... Oh god, it's so...
And it also snaps everything to the end, so you can't have gaps between the...
What?
Video clips.
That's... What? That's so stupid! Why would that be a thing? Why would that ever be a feature? Like, that...
You can turn it off, but it comes on natively.
Oh my god. Like, okay, like, thank God you can turn that off, because, like, wow, that would be the worst editing software in history if you could never turn it off.
But you do have to...
Bad.
Instead of using the normal pointer tool, you have to select the position tool so that it doesn't snap back.
Oh god, wow.
You can't really turn it off, per se. You can just switch to a different tool.
God damn it. That's horrible. Ugh.
I think it's kind of a product of Apple wanting to be kind of avant-garde and saying, oh, look, we've invented this new cool way of doing things.
Probably.
And I also think it's kind of a reflection of the changing way that people edit, because nowadays, technically speaking, anybody can edit, and a lot of people on YouTube need a really simple, like, not industry standard, but just something less complex to edit all their videos on.
Yeah.
People like PewDiePie and things like that. And this is perfect for that, because all PewDiePie's thing is a reaction cam in the top, his beginning slate, which I don't even think he has, and an ending slate, and then the audio and the video. So a single timeline or single layer timeline thing would be perfect for him.
Yeah, hell, I can do that in Sony Vegas HD, and like that's a $20 program.
That said, though, I don't think it's very good. I don't know, because the engineer who teaches us, the technician who taught us how to use it at first, he said that the projects he makes with it for clients, he uses that over Premiere Pro and he gets it done quicker, but I don't see how he does, because it's like editing with one hand tied behind your back. It's really difficult, especially when you're starting out.
I'm guessing that it's probably one of those things where it's like once you've done it enough, once you've kind of worked with this crazy system enough, it becomes kind of secondhand nature, and there's probably some degree of like mastery you can get with this kind of thing where it's like, oh, okay, now that I've got it all set and clear in my head, it's now like bloop, 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 use all the shortcuts, use all the stupid tricks.
As part of my course, I mean, you can get this independent of a university, but I'm going to be certified with 3 different editing softwares: Final Cut, Premiere Pro, and Avid. And obviously, being certified helps because it means that the company who hires you knows that you know how to use this system to a relatively high standard. But Final Cut, I've been using it for a month now, and while I can bear it, I really don't find it as enjoyable to edit on as Premiere Pro. I think it's a lot easier to do what I want to do. I feel like I'm being dragged around by the editing system a lot when I use Final Cut.
Yeah. This is so gross sounding though. It's so disgusting that software that's like, ugh, Final Cut, why have you done this?
I'd never used a Mac before this as well, so I came in on the first day of editing and they were like, right, we're going to be using Final Cut Pro X on a Mac, and I was like, oh god.
Yeah, no, learning.
I've never used any of these things before.
Yeah, you're learning to
Please, no.
Macs are sort of fine once you learn them a little bit, but they're so needlessly different for the sake of being different in a lot of ways.
I did feel like that. I mean, for instance, instead of having the control button do all of your things, you've got the command button do it, and I think that's really difficult because on a PC keyboard, which I've been using for the majority of my life, the control button's on the left, so you use whatever finger it is next to your little finger. Your index, is that?
Yeah.
Your ring finger?
Ring finger, that's it, yeah. You press that down on the control one, then you do Control A, C, V, whatever one you want to do. But on a Mac, you have to bring your whole hand over to where the Alt is on the PC for the control button. Then you have to reach back over yourself to press the Control A button.
Yeah, it's kind of weird and really dumb.
I don't know, personally, I don't think that's a very good system. It
Also,
means I have to relearn my key fingering.
Also, it's like absolutely everything has to be done with because they don't have a right mouse button because, why would you ever want a right mouse button? No, it's far better to have control or command click. Adding that extra hand requirement is really what the end user truly desires.
Need. I will be honest though, I feel like the preferences menu is better than on PCs because, for instance, you can invert the scroll wheel and have it so that it scrolls, so scrolling down actually scrolls it up, for example, which I don't find useful. I only find it useful because Macs automatically come pre-built where they scroll the opposite way to PCs. So if I scroll the mouse upwards on a PC, I go up the page. But if I scroll the mouse upwards on a Mac, I go down the page.
Yeah,
which is infinitely stupid because you can just standardize it.
No, but Mac has this weird thing where a lot of their decisions are really, really smart. There's no denying the fact that their tablets and all that stuff have revolutionized the way electronics are viewed and all this stuff. They come up with some really good ideas, but they come up with those really good ideas as part of a giant mountain of insane, ridiculous notions that they just are okay, we're going to throw this stuff in here and throw this stuff in here and throw this stuff in here so that when a Mac user goes and tries to use anything else, they'll be like, oh, this is so weird and dumb. I'm going to go back to using the Mac system that is only implemented by Mac.
Well, I mean, I think it's, in a way, it's not even that Apple invented these things. I think it was Microsoft or Samsung or somebody came out with a touchscreen tablet, way before Apple did. But they just didn't market it properly, and so no one really cared about it.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. I don't think there's many Apple products that are wholly original. It's just that they improve upon and better sell
Steve Jobs
things.
Was brilliant at convincing people to buy his stuff.
Yes.
Were you going to say something? Sorry, yeah.
Duhad, yeah.
Oh no, just the one you're thinking of was originally the tablets first started as PCs, and instead of having the tablet operating system or the different OS we have now was pretty much here's your computer on a tablet. It's like a laptop, but it's touchscreen.
Which is about the point we're now getting to, but that's been after a whole generation of smartphones and iPads. Funny story about the iPad, actually, true story. when I heard about it, and like they were doing, there was like an unveil in Boston or something, I legitimately thought that the iPad was like some bizarre, like local Bostonian thing. It was gonna be like, okay, you have the iPod, but now you have the iPad. Well, you're having Bostonians, you got a big old fashioned iPad.
Thing. Oh, yeah. I would say that. I mean, the iPad is kind of one of those things where, in fact, everything actually, the Apple products, I can't believe how kind of materialistic people can be when wanting them. For instance, the iPhone 5, one of the people I know in my dorm went out immediately when the iPhone 6 came out and got one. And it made me think, surely it can't be worth it. What's the iPhone 6 actually got that the iPhone 5 doesn't, that would spur you to go out and buy it and spend £300 on it?
It feels like it's slightly larger and a
It
little
must
more
have
powerful.
different features,
Well,
but I mean,
there are some new
some
features,
of the
but like
features some of the features surely you could give it in a firmware update to the iPhone 5, but obviously they wouldn't because they want to.
Yeah, well, so and the
Get
thing is,
more
like,
money.
I know for a fact that some of the new updates were actually like kind of bad. Like a number of things actually broke, and there was a whole security breach thing with some of the new protective software. That's the thing about iPod, like the or iProducts in general. They've kind of become the new, class symbol, consumer item. Like they've sort of replaced cars as the thing that you have to have as a status symbol. That's like a utility, but also like a utility that can be used to demonstrate wealth and power.
How
So
rich
you can
you are.
have, because like everyone has to have one. You can get something that is less expensive and
And inferior. Am I right?
And
well, like,
10
it
times
looks-
better.
and
Yeah.
usable and stuff. But like the thing is, you need to have this thing. You need to have this thing. You can get it in the relatively cheaper variety just to show that you do have the thing that you are up with the times. But if you want to be fancy and you want to have, the status symbol that you can just pull out and, kind of wave around, you got to go out and you got to buy the new things as they come out, because that's the way of demonstrating how like up to date and
Well,
savvy
I mean,
you are.
I'm happy that I came to university and was allowed to use the Macs, and that Macs are used primarily for editing. Because before, I wasn't going to go out and buy a Mac just so I could have a kind of opinion that held some sort of weight. Because obviously it would have been bad for me to talk about Macs like I knew what I was talking about if I hadn't actually used one. But now that I actually have, I can say that it's kind of more of a personal preference thing mixed with a kind of social, like, I'm going to get this because it's the flashier one of the two. It looks nicer because in actuality, when you compare the specs for the computers and the Macs, you can probably buy a computer which outperforms a Mac for a lot less than the cost of a Mac. You're mainly paying for the kind of sleek design of it and the fact that it's got an Apple logo on the back.
Yeah, first. They are designer computers. They are very much designer products.
Yeah. It's like getting a computer and cutting off the corner so it's all nice and rounded, and then sticking sequins on it and making it look shiny.
Lots of sleek plastics and shiny designs and stuff. I mean, like the thing is, like a good example of this is like the younger engineer who I trained under. He had this very, very powerful laptop that was like comparable to a decently built PC. And the thing is, like, it's extraordinarily powerful. It's like it's a laptop, so it's tiny. It's it's like all this impressive stuff. But the thing is, he paid something crazy, something in like the area of well over $1,000 for this thing, and paid at least something like, I think I calculated that to be something like $500 or $600 more than he would have if he had built a similar PC. But the thing is, what he got that he wouldn't have got with the PC is it's a Mac. It's it's this shiny, cool laptop that's sleek and clean, and he didn't have to build it himself, and it's just got it's got all the features that you could want without any of the hassle, because you don't need the hassle. You're a savvy consumer who has bought the Mac. And that's all you need to do. You just need to buy the Mac, and then you're done. You are finished, because the Mac user needs no other thing besides his trusty Mac from his trusty Mac store. That is the Mac promise. That is the Mac selling point.
I actually find that really funny now, because if you think back to the original the original Macintosh ad was to kind of spoof off 1984, to not follow the herd, to break free, and now it is
it is.
I don't want to call it this the stupid man, but it's the baseline consumer thing. It's the people that have no idea what they need. Because I need a smartphone. Oh, so you get an iPhone.
Yeah.
It's no, you can get an Android phone or something else that will do what you want. It might not have the super awesome fingerprint scanner and this and that and these bells and whistles, but it will do what you need for less.
I mean, let's put it this way. Even simpler, real quick. Let's point out the whole point of the ad is it's a bunch of weird, creepy cult-like people all obeying this giant talking head. And Apple has since become a company that unironically has its fan base labeled as the cult of Macintosh, with people lining up in giant theater-sized stadiums to stare at the giant talking head of Steve Jobs. It's you have literally become your own parody, adversary.
I know, and it makes me laugh to no end.
It's actually pretty hilarious to think about.
Don't be like these guys until we tell you to be like these guys.
Don't be like these guys. They're gray. You should be white.
With turtlenecks.
Yes, with black turtlenecks.
Well, it's just this kind of thing of it does seem weird that it's quite a stark contrast, because like you were saying, there was the advert about breaking free and not being the same as everyone else. Let's get a Mac computer. But nowadays, it's the exact polar opposite, because people just, without even thinking, like you were saying, if they don't know what they need, they'll get an Apple product because it comes nice and neatly packaged. They don't actually have to put any thought into it. They'd rather pay the extra money and not look into it any further. And it's true, because, I'll admit that the Apple kind of integration between its systems, like the way Apple iPods, you can get on all the different things like iTunes and all that sort of stuff, and the cloud, it's nicely synced up and everything, but you could probably still survive if you got an Android. It's not going to kill you to get rid of a few of the Apple-based features.
Yeah.
It's perfectly functional without.
Yeah,
so,
and it's significantly cheaper, but it's not
significantly cheaper.
Yeah, again, it's not the. Again, going back to an earlier point, it's not the Ferrari. They've replaced fancy cars as the status symbol items, and watches as well. It used to be you demonstrate the same thing that you do with an iPod with a Rolex watch and the keys to your fancy sports car. And just like the fancy sports car and the fancy watch, you can get another watch, but it ain't a Rolex. It ain't a Rolex. You can have a nice, I don't know, Porsche. I guess I don't know cars, but I'd say if Porsche turned. I assume Porsche is not actually a super high end car company. I've seen cheap Porsches, but anyway, points. I guess there's you have a cheap, you have a really expensive, super nice Porsche car, but then you have basically the same car for $10,000 more made by Ferrari, and the Ferrari is the status symbol item, and the Porsche is not, because as nice as the Porsche is, it isn't a Ferrari.
Or don't forget your Air Jordans.
Oh yeah, he had the Air Jordans. Oh man,
it's just marketing, really.
Well, it is. It's entirely marketing.
If they're better at marketing their product, if everyone thinks that their one is the best one, then they'll buy that over something which is cheaper but has more functionality.
Yeah, I mean, hell, there's a whole weird side of marketing where you, instead of trying to sell your product as the cheapest and the best deal, you market it as being the least cheap, the most overpriced, the most, utterly, decadent.
Well, people assume that if they buy it that it's better because it's more expensive, which isn't always the case.
No. But But then you get like the weird kind of marketing, whereas like right now for smartphones, the only two that you ever hear of are Apple and Samsung, because they're the only ones that really put money into advertising.
Yeah.
But yet you have other like great phones out there, like the Nexus line or even the HTC One line, but just because they don't have as big of a marketing campaign, like no one ever thinks about it. Like it's do I get the iPhone or Samsung?
It's like I've got a Sony Xperia, and it's a really nice little phone. It's not the best in the world, but it does what I need to do. But a lot of people have barely even heard of that brand of phone.
Yeah. And like what was it? The Xperia Z, when it came out, it was like fully submergible and waterproof. And it was like a huge, awesome thing, but because you only saw like an ad for every 5 Samsung and like every 10 iPhones, nobody really heard about it.
Yeah. And part of that is like this weird self-defeating prophecy thing where it's like, they know that their product is not going to be able to sell as well, so they just don't bother, wide-scale marketing it, ensuring that it does not do as well, because they've already decided that it's not going to do as well, and therefore it doesn't do as well, and proves that it was not going to do as well, so they don't have to, so they do not try as hard the next time because they already know it's not going to do as well because they already decided it wasn't going to do as well. So this stupid cycle. That happens with television shows all the time, obviously. Where a TV show will fail because the network is like, this show is going to fail, therefore we're going to put it in horrible slots and play it out of order and crap like that, and it's like, oh look, the show failed. We called it. We can guess these things so well. Let's make similar decisions in future about similar projects. Yeah.
It's not The Wire, so it's not going to do as well as The Wire.
The Wire didn't even really do that well. The Wire is a great example of a show that was amazing and everyone loved it, except for the fact that it had really shitty numbers. And basically got canceled. They tried to cancel it after the 4th season, and they had to fight to get back on to finish it with the 5th season. And it completely canned the planned spin-off about politics.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because it was a really cool political story that was kind of getting brewed up in the 3rd season that was apparently going to spin off into a whole independent show, and ended up having to be merged into as a subplot of the main series because they couldn't get the spin-off off, because it was the show is a huge critical darling, but it's not pulling in ER numbers, so whatever.
Yeah, that is true.
Man, people are always so shouty today.
Yeah, I know. That's what you get for living in halls of residence. It's not always like this, but sometimes it is.
Oh, hey, look at the time. We're actually over time. So, hey, I hope you guys enjoyed To the End, the new engineering podcast.
To the End Tech Talk.
Tech Talk. Oh, goodness. We'll see you guys next week, hopefully with some more bonuses and less wires. Or more of The Wire, because God knows I could talk about that show all day. But anyway,
go and watch The Wire.
Go watch The Wire. It's really good. Seriously, it's got Idris Elba. It's got Idris Elba before he was really famous. It's great. All right, see you guys next time.